Hi everyone, it's Leslie here, and I am talking with Raine Saunders today. And she found me on Facebook. She became interested in GMO-free Idaho, and she runs a blog called Agriculture Society. And we've been talking quite a bit today, and I'm really excited to share her point of view with everybody. So, Raine, why don't you just go ahead and tell everyone what you do and your main goals and what you do.
Well, about 6 years ago, I started the blog that I maintain called Agriculture Society. And at the time, I was kind of thinking I was all alone talking about what I was talking about because I really didn't know anybody else that was having the health issues that I was having. And I still didn't really know what caused them, except that I was pretty sure that the things that I was eating were making me sick.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because I had changed my diet and I started doing a lot of research to find out if there were other people that were having those same issues, I wanted to share that with other people because I didn't think it was fair that people were going to doctors and not getting answers about their health issues, because that's what doctors are supposed to do. They're supposed to help us. And I wasn't getting the help I needed, and I hadn't been for many, many years, and I just had been going in this circle for a while, kind of feeling like I wasn't getting any answers and I wasn't seeing any resolutions,
Mm-hmm.
and I really wanted to help people. And that's why I started what I'm doing now.
That's really interesting to me because we talked about this too, is that I've had health issues, and I've come to find out that food is medicine. And when we tamper with our food and decrease the nutritional value, we're essentially hurting our bodies. And so I love that you have been able to cure some of your symptoms and help yourself through food. I think it's really, really powerful.
It is, absolutely.
So I do want to ask you, as a consumer, and I know you've been doing tons of research and you're very knowledgeable about a lot of this stuff, but as a consumer, how do you feel about GMOs in the food supply?
I think they're very dangerous substances, and not just dangerous but toxic,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not natural. They're things that that have been engineered in the laboratory. They are causing all these different health issues that people are reporting. A lot of different websites like the Institute for Responsible Technology have talked about how people get food allergy symptoms, and they are getting gastrointestinal symptoms, and they are, well, of course, there's a lot of other things that are being linked to the use of GMOs, but I think some of the other things that I've read about are like liver dysfunction, cancer, and then infertility is a really big one.
Yeah, infertility is a big one.
I think that with the rise in infertility rates that we're seeing now, that's a really that's pretty not only disturbing, but it's a very easy to see connection.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of things that we're experiencing now as a population that I think people are, realize are increased from what they were, like diabetes and heart disease and obesity and stuff like that. But I think stuff like infertility, people probably don't connect that also could be, an issue that we're having because of foods that we eat.
Yeah.
So
there's one study that I believe it's third generation of hamsters are just coming out. They're fed GMO Soy, I believe. By the third generation, they're unable to have babies, and if they do, they're stillborns. Mm-hmm. And so through those animal studies, I can see a link between infertility and lots of other disease and sickness.
Absolutely.
But the problem is that no one's testing to see if GMOs are the cause, and so that's why we're not making any strides medically with these health issues, and also pointing towards food as the both problem and solution.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I do think that there are some studies. I think that they aren't given credence because a lot of them maybe are third-party studies, mm-hmm. or they're funded by a nonprofit company or something like that, or a nonprofit organization that is trying to get this information out there. And I think a lot of people don't give the weight that they should to these studies.
They discredit them and find more credit in a study that's funded by Monsanto, who is producing these GM crops.
Right.
There's more credibility and validity in that to most people.
Yeah.
And it's because they're unaware and uneducated about the issue, which is why we're here, spreading awareness.
Right.
And I love your blog. I love how in tune you are with food and the buy local movement. And so I just want to ask you, we did talk about that a little bit. What, as a society, would you like to see the biggest fundamental change in how we obtain food or eat food or have a relationship with food?
So I'm really an advocate for supporting local farmers. And I do hear this from people online and in real life. When I talk to them, they'll say, well, I don't have a local farm near me. Well, more and more in so many communities, there are huge movements to get local food to people, and there are a lot of farmers that are really are concerned about it. So I think to say that you don't have any farmers near you, it's certainly true that in some areas there's less farms. If you're in the middle of New York City, you're probably not going to have a farm nearby, but there are farmers markets. I know there are because I've read about them, even though I've never been to New York. I know that there's there's outlets for people to get that food.
Right.
Even if you don't have a local farm that's within 5 or 10 miles of your house, there are places, farmers markets, and there are local stores and merchants that will sell those things. So I think it's really not just about it really is about kind of networking with people and getting involved in your own community and finding out what's available and being able to think differently about how do you get your food, because it is something that you have to make changes, and it is going to be different than what you've done. If you've just gone to the grocery store and bought your food once a week, then it's certainly going to be different. But once you start doing that and supporting those local farmers and getting those relationships going, you really can see the benefits, and it becomes part of your life. That's what I do every week. I go to the farmer's market, or like in the wintertime when they're not doing the market anymore, we just pick up deliveries that they do once a week. And it's become a part of my life, and I can't imagine not doing it. And I also have started realizing that a lot of that stuff is actually cheaper because I'm buying it directly from the farmer.
Yeah, you're cutting out the third party.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what I've noticed, and this has been this way for both Jenny and I, is that being a conscious food consumer has helped me to be a conscious consumer in other aspects of my daily life. And, we talked about this a little bit too. Everyone's, Occupy Wall Street, anti-corporation, get these corporations out of government. And I feel like the biggest thing that you can do is vote with your dollar to make the biggest changes. And so that's why the buy local food movement is so important, is because it's set up, it's ready for the taking. All you have to do is take that step and
that's right.
Go for it.
I totally agree.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your blog?
Sure. So I mentioned that I started my blog in 2006 is when I started writing. I originally started just writing articles here and there and wasn't sure if anybody was reading. In 2009, I came across a group of other bloggers that were doing some of the same things that I was doing, but some of the stuff that they were writing about was a little more focused on the traditional food movement, which is where kind of the Weston A. Price Foundation comes in, which is a nonprofit organization. They're back east, and they...
Yeah, I read about that a little bit.
Yeah. And they really are... their whole purpose is to educate about nutrient-dense diets through traditional farming and food, which to me is so incredibly simple. And at the same time, because the way we do farm now, it's really mind-blowing for a lot of people. They can't wrap their heads around it, and they sort of want to reject it. Although, as you and I talked about, there's so many people realizing, the good things about eating that way, that people are starting to move toward that, and I really am a huge advocate of the Weston A. Price Foundation and the principles that that their organization is founded upon, which is Weston A. Price was a dentist that traveled all over the world in the 1930s. And he literally went all over the world with his wife, and they went to all these different remote locations. They went to Australia, they went to Northern Europe, they went to Alaska, they went to Africa, a bunch of different areas, and they started noticing that people that were the healthiest were the ones that were eating traditional foods that had been eaten for thousands of years. And these were not, I mean, in different areas, of course, the diets did vary somewhat, but they were eating things like raw milk and, meats from animals that were, raised in a natural way. They were eating butter, fish roe, which is fish eggs, in places where, they're near the ocean. A lot of the seaports were, of course, they were eating seafood.
Sea vegetables, I'm sure.
Sea vegetables, yes. And they were fermenting a lot of their foods. And they were eating organ meats and eggs and all different kinds of foods that basically, foods that we still eat today, but maybe are kind of unrecognizable compared to what they used to be, unless you're eating the local sustainable variety. And he noticed that, in the cultures where they had brought in things like white flour and sugar and like hydrogenated oils and stuff like that, like the canola oil or vegetable oils, that those people were starting to exhibit very marked signs of disease and degeneration. And that's the name of the book that he wrote, in fact, is called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. So
I need to read that. I love that. It seems so clear cut, the problems and the solutions.
It does.
It really is so clear cut that it's mind blowing that not enough people know about it or can see it, or and it's easy for it to be that way. We're bombarded with so many things on a daily basis. I mean, people aren't thinking, where am I getting my food? They're thinking, when am I going to have time to eat next?
Right. And can I put it in the microwave?
Yeah. How fast is it going to be? And so I think it's all about slowing down, simplifying, being more connected, in tune, more conscious, alert, and in the moment.